About 80% of what I learned about fundraising is in the book by Ryan Breslow called Fundraising. But the 20% which I think is a nuance is what I'll share here now. The first thing is that you are trying to prove something. Step two is that you learn how to tell a story. Learning how to tell a story is the most critical part of your conversation because a bad pitch meeting with a VC is you presenting slides. Here's a whole communication flow. You want to talk to a VC because they've invested in your category and you think they know something about the category that you don't or have a connection that you don't. So you go to the VC, you have a blurb about what your thing is in a sentence or two, no longer. And then you say, here are 3 bullet points to get you started. These bullet points should have numbers on your market that reflects a core insight that you have, or if you've already started on the product, metrics that prove your point in the market. 3 bullet points. Where people mess up is they send a deck. This is like poker, where the more information they have from you, it gives them the upper hand. Because ideally, or usually, they've diligenced your market, know the players, know what product offerings, etc. So the more that they have about you is more than they can use in a decision against you or not giving you money. I will die on this hill. If they ask for a deck, send them a 2-slide deck with what the product is and who you are. Give them intrigue. And then the meeting should essentially be you pitching. The story gives you the effect of making me care. Why do I care? Why do I care is built on the world, which is like the market, the character, you, why you specifically, or why your team specifically is attacking this opportunity. If you can figure out what about the investor's background or what about the investor's network has a specific hiring or BD implication to help those 3 things, that's where I think the through line makes the most sense. A bad story, and I've done this before, you go to Canva, you make 10, 12 slides, you go problem, solution, opportunity, market size, why now? I think I've got this memorized. Team. And it's a presentation of facts. And in the book, Pitch Anything, which is one of my favorite books, he talks about how when we receive information, the first thing is building the context in which everything else falls under. So you have to make the person care about the market before you go into the rest of it. The big brain thing to do, or the Jedi thing to do, in my opinion, is you take all the things, that presentation of facts that Sequoia wants, and you embed it into a story that only you can tell, whether it be your personal background, in your childhood, or your career. That's where I think the best pitches come from. And not, hey investor, here's a problem, here's a solution, here's data that backs it up, give us money. So again, the best stories are narrative driven. The best stories touch on those facts, but the facts are not the headline. The facts are embedded into that story. The thing I learned from Andy Stanton, one of the best storytellers of all time, if you're from tech and you're watching this, you may have not heard of him, but he is one of the main guys at Pixar. Something he says is, you want to give people 2 + 2. Do not give them 4, 2 + 2. So after you tell your story about the market and the product and why your team is fit to do this, I think what you want to say is, because of X, Y, and Z, this thing is going to happen. Instead, you should talk about this thing happening as an inevitability. And when the through line makes sense, we will put together 2 and we'll say that equals 4. And I want to invest in 4. And then talk about the outcome as an inevitability that has like a huge, like outsized return. 90% chance of failing, but like a 10% chance of changing the world. Hat tip, Khosla. Do not just present facts. I've seen pitches where they open up with 89% of people do so-and-so. That VC is not going to go to her husband and go, baby, did you know that 89% of people do so-and-so? She'll talk about the meaning, like this founder whose parents went through this struggle and now who has to live with this struggle is building a company around this. And 89% of people go through this. I'd also say do not let them drag you on. Something I didn't know as a founder is that the bad VCs will keep egging you on. just to get more information. There's an art to this because a great founder friend of mine, who's the founder of an amazing company called Club Feast, he talks about when raising money that you should never put yourself in a position to get a no. And that's a Jedi mind trick, because when he pitches investors, he goes, I'm thinking about raising in X amount of months. I like to meet to get feedback on the market. He'll just tell a story. And at some point, the investor will come back like, hey, how's it going? Are you ready to raise it up? Here's a story. And obviously this is communicated in a meeting. Thanks for your time. We'll catch up when we're ready. And he's thinking. Because he's going to bring this meeting up in his partner meeting. Because he has to. And in the best cases, they say, look, he's thinking about raising soon. We'll just preempt him. It's like giving yourself an above zero chance of getting a yes, as opposed to a 50% chance of getting a no. See what I'm saying? That was pretty groundbreaking. Telling the story in the way you're supposed to tell the story. I would say do better process. If you already started, you've been doing that for over 4 months, and you haven't amassed a lot of money, then there's something wrong, or it's just not that interesting. And if you already started, great, just stop. Make more progress in business. If you do it for 2 to 4 months and make progress that speaks to what you're trying to prove, find better results. But if you already started, harder, because investors talk and they can tell something's cooling off. There has to be new information that builds the intrigue. For example, what we used to say, our product is launching soon, we're raising in a couple weeks. And that information told them nothing about what we were trying to prove. And then those interactions fizzle out. And you see these interactions on AngelList and in the real world, where if you speak the language of investors, and there's a ton of numbers that back this up that you didn't lead with, then they can decide in like a day. I've even seen it like on the spot. Because investors see a deal, and for example, on one of these SPVs I was in on AngelList, I think it closed in an hour. So what I'm trying to save you from is just heartache, like raising for many months on end, because I've done that. Or it's like you go, and this is so painful. The God version of this thing looks like is have a great story. There's a through line between your story in the market, your story with your team, your story with the product, and you tell that story. Not raising, just telling the story passionately. Tell it to the investors. 10, 20, 30, 40. Man, at some point, you ask to meet with all of them in 2, 3, 4 weeks. I try to keep it like 3 or 4 meetings a day. And then you're really pitching. You're really taking them into your world, and the intrigue happens. And you say, we're thinking about raising in a few weeks. Ooh. That tells them it's coming, but if we're early, we might be able to get a deal done. But let's just say you do that, no money comes. Okay, now what? I go back to market research and advice on this. Just find more investors. It's just a funnel. It's okay. There's a lot of investors. And these days, because of COVID, the importance of good writing and a good story is much more important than the intro path it came from. Don't put too much thought into it. The last thing I'll say is I wish I kept the CRM of everyone I ever talked to about the business. Everyone. If you build that list of people you've had hand-to-hand combat with, and then in one click you say, I'd like feedback on this, then you don't have to cobble together a pipeline. And a good tool for this is Cabal. GetCabal.com. Okay, hopefully this is helpful. I can share more mistakes and learning in the future, but this is, I think, like the bulk of it. Let's summarize. 1, do not give them too much information. 2, have a great story and tell it from your fucking chest, okay? 3, if you're gonna do these closing type meetings, do them in a tight bound and conserve your energy. And then 4, if it doesn't work out, just find more investors. It's okay. It's okay. Look, with VCs, here's the truth. Come back every 6 months. And for the ones you really don't like and you don't really want to work with, tell them it's now or never, and you don't want to talk to them anyway. It's kind of their job. It's like kind of their job to meet with you because they need all the deals they can get. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. Bye.